today is Mr. Christopher Williams, Regional Manager for the Southern Region, Department of Finance. So please welcome him to the stage.
I'd like to thank the Department of Commerce and also the CCI for organising this event. I've presented in Albany and also in Collie, and this is a really great turnout of people, so congratulations. I don't have any grants or any money to give away, but what I probably can do is tell you how you might be able to access or do work with the state government. The Department of Finance, it's a little misleading. Most people say, have you got heaps of money? We actually don't have money per se. We actually facilitate other agencies to spend their money. So we actually spend other agencies' money and help them follow due process and all those sorts of bits and pieces. So, yes, it worked. So yeah, the Department of Finance is actually made up of a number of areas. There's the Building Management and Works, Government Procurement, Office of Shared Services, State Revenue, and also the Office of Government Utilities. The two areas that I want to talk about today is Works Procurement, which is done through Building Management and Works, and also Government Procurement, which in the regions is actually done through BMW. We have our own areas. Metropolitan-wise, it's actually done through the Government Procurement. Works Procurement is actually conducted under the Public Works Act, and Minister O'Brien is actually the Minister for Works, as well as a number of other titles, and he's the Minister for Finance also. Through Works Procurement, we do a lot of maintenance of government buildings, which includes breakdown repairs. So if something worked yesterday, doesn't today, it's considered a breakdown repair, and that goes through a central call centre, which is actually based in Mandurah. So it's regionally based. Everyone through the state rings through to that one call centre. So it's not in Mumbai, and it's not here, and it's not there. It's actually in our backyard in Mandurah, and there's another one in Bridgetown. Routine maintenance, which is just sort of routinely maintaining things like sumps and gutters, RCDs, those sorts of things. And we also do general restoration. Minor works, that's small pieces of work that may happen at various government facilities. I should point out that one thing that within BMW, we don't handle any housing at all. That's done by the Department of Housing. We look after all the other government facilities, so that includes schools, police stations, prisons, courthouses and the like, but we don't actually do anything with housing. Capital works projects, and there were some mentions about some schools and primary schools and things being constructed. They're all being done through Building Management and Works. We tender those out. And we also provide agencies with a lot of advice, planning and do a lot of knowledge sharing. In relation to the goods and services procurement, a lot of agencies have a limit into which they can actually procure. Outside of that limit, in some cases it's as little as $20,000. After that, they actually come to either BMW regionally or the government procurement, and we help facilitate the procurement of goods and or services. And there are also a number of other things that we look after, things like group buying arrangements, where we've set up an arrangement in an area where agencies can actually access it. Statewide, there are what we call common use arrangements, or CUAs, which are set up to assist government agencies to actually go through and procure goods and or services. And we also do set up, for some agencies, if they've got a specific need, an agency-specific contract to enable, and that may be either with one contractor or a panel of contractors which they can access and what it does is facilitate the process of them being able to just go and pick and buy. And we also provide a lot of advice and do a lot of knowledge sharing. Now I'm getting the hang of it. Our clients are basically state government agencies. However, we don't actually do a lot for government trading enterprises, which includes ports, Western Power, Water Corporation, Public Transport Authority. And in a lot of cases, we don't do work for agencies with special responsibilities such as main roads. However, in saying that, we actually do conduct most of the maintenance on behalf of main roads statewide. And I said we don't do houses, we actually do theirs. But that's by special arrangement. Department of Transport, they tend to look after their own. So all the rail network and all those sorts of things we're not involved in. And also Land Corp, which is industrial sites and land development, they actually do their own. So from a works perspective, regionally we have 4 regional offices. I'm the regional manager for the southern region, which goes all the way out, down to Albany, out to Hyden, Narrogin. We have a central region, which is sort of Kalgoorlie and above, a northern region which picks up the Pilbara and the Kimberley, and an eastern which goes all the way out to the NT border. And starts at about northern. We operate under a service alliance in those regional areas where we have an arrangement with a lot of local contractors that actually carry out the maintenance on our behalf. Within Mandurah and some areas, some of that is actually done by service providers out of our metro area, but we are actually doing a lot of work in and around this area. We're currently the Minister for Education recently announced a program. It's a $40 million program in the district high schools around the state, all regional high schools, and out of that, Boddington is there's about $1.5 million worth of work going to happen at the Boddington District High School and also in Waroona. Basically, what the process is, if it's a breakdown repair, it's pretty much due and charge up to a certain value. Most of the other work is either quoted or tendered. So the work that's actually tendered, anything over $150,000 in value or above, is actually publicly, openly tendered. And all of those tenders actually appear on a website called Tenders WA. So there are a lot of companies out there that will sell you services about, we can get you access to government contracts, those sorts of things. You can do it yourself. There's a website called Tenders WA. It lists every government agency's tenders, ours, and every other agency that's going to tender. They're all there. And quite often, some of the smaller ones, we actually put everything over $20,000 on Tenders WA. Again, with goods and services, that's exactly the same. There are common use arrangements, as I explained, that are set up for agencies to be able to use. There's the capacity to do direct purchases, so just a do and charge for anything under $5,000. Simple or verbal quotes up to about $20,000, and then written quotes between $20 and $150, and then over $150, as I said, it's a public open tender, and they're all on Tenders WA. There is currently a review happening of some of those procurement thresholds. There's no results to it at this stage, but what may happen is some of those thresholds may actually increase. What do agencies actually want? While price is a really, really important factor and a consideration, there are a lot more things than price. And particularly with the goods and or services contracting, we include in those tenders a lot of qualitative criteria, which is really about how you as an organisation can demonstrate how you can supply those goods. So price becomes a secondary consideration, and a lot of the primary consideration gets is actually determined on your capacity and capability to actually deliver those services. So it's a bit like if you're applying for a job and you've got to sell yourself to your prospective employer, exactly the same thing. These qualitative criteria are about you selling your capability and demonstrating that you have the capability to meet the services. You'll have to join the CCI. Oh, oh, it's time's up. Okay. So it's not all about money. There are a lot of other things: quality, expertise, experience, relationships. Relationships is a big thing, and developing relationships is quite important. But also areas, things like sustainability, environmental and economic considerations are also given to these things. So from purchasing in the regions, obviously establishing sound relationships is important. Value for money. And as I say, value for money is more than just the price. It deals with your capacity to actually supply those goods. And that's the sort of consideration that government agencies would give. So it's not just you're the lowest price, we'll give it to you. There's a lot more to it. Timeliness, being able to deliver those goods and or services in a timely manner, and also the benefits to the region. One of the things that actually applies to every government tender is the buy local policy. And that gives a price preference to local regional businesses. So for goods and services, it's a 10% advantage to local businesses. Under the works banner, it's actually split up into two 5% things, so it's a total of 10%. But what it is there's 5% for a regional business preference. So if your business is actually based within a certain area of where that job is happening, you can claim regional business preference, which is up 5% up to a maximum of $50,000. And the other 5% deals with local content. So even though we may have some people from Perth or somewhere else that are bidding on jobs, if they commit to actually take on local subcontractors, they can actually claim up to 5%. So what that's trying to do is encourage even metropolitan builders or suppliers from using local subcontractors. So in summary and in finishing up, the regional price preference, as I stated, does give up to 10% to local businesses. One thing with goods and services tenders is over the value of $750,000, there is automatically a qualitative criteria put into that tender which provides another 20% for local businesses. So that actually, on top of the 10% from buy local, there's another 20%, so that's a maximum of about 30% advantage to local suppliers. As I mentioned, all government tenders are actually on Tenders WA. It's a really worthwhile site to go and have a look at, because at any time of the day or night you can go on there and see what tenders are available, and I think you can actually set yourself up on a profile there which will advise you of things that are coming up that are of interest to you and to your business. We also actually do courses called Selling to Government. It's about a 2-hour course. This is a 10-minute précis of some of that, but it actually talks about how to actually address selection criteria and those sorts of, so non-price or qualitative criteria, and a very, very worthwhile course to do. And I'll make the CCI aware of when we're looking at doing it, and they can actually then get it out to their members and other people in the community, because it is a really worthwhile course to do. We have some local offices. I'm based in Bunbury in the Tower, so if you're ever down that way, by all means call in and see us. And we also, in the city, are based out in Osborne Park in Optima. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.